This parfocal 17 to 28mm wide-angle lens with a servo motor built in is interesting. But instead of trying it out here in rainy Chicago, let's pack our 50-pound backpack and go to Iceland and see how this lens performs.
Weighing only 520 grams. It's sporting a DL mount for native integration with the Zenmuse sensor head.
Interestingly, this lens has back focus control, so there's no need for gimbal recalibration when zooming, which you do, by the way, using the built-in zoom servo motor. With a very decent close focusing distance of 19 centimeters on the wide end, you can get close up and personal. And this lens promises to be very sharp from the center to the edges. So I've been asking myself, who is the Ronin 4D and that 17 to 28mm lens competing with? And for sure, it's all the cinema cameras, the lower end ones like the Red Komodo, the Sony FX6 or the Canon C300. But one second. Yeah.
God, it's cold here.
Can I borrow your tripod?
I already know what you need.
Oh yes.
Because
it's a great rental house in here.
it's great.
All
It
right.
reads your mind.
But many filmmakers are using mirrorless cameras these days because they're smaller, they're more compact and more flexible and are easier to rig up on a gimbal, especially if you think about indie or smaller productions. Lo and behold, if you rig out an A7S III that I'm shooting on right now with a gimbal, with a 16 to 35 lens, it nets out roughly in the same price range as the Ronin 4D with that new lens. That's why I think we should just pit them against each other, just like have a little bit of a image comparison while we're here at Godafoss. It's a beautiful waterfall and we have this perfect sunlight right now. It's gonna set later on. We're gonna shoot a lot at that point, but I wanted to get a little bit of a camera plus lens comparison for you guys out before, so that you can make yourself an own picture of it if you go for example an A7S III with a gimbal and the setup, or if you would go rather with a 4D and that new 17 to 28mm lens. So let's set up shop over there right at the spot where the waterfall drops, and you'll see it's very pretty. Let's make this whole thing a little bit more fun and you guess which camera, A or B, is the Ronin 4D with a 17 to 28 and which one is the A7S III with the 16 to 35. Gonna keep it at both the same focal length and same settings. Just let us know your guess down in the comment section below and I'll reveal it in a second. So go and let's see who can get it right. Also, I didn't do a gimbal test because my backpack was already jam-packed with like 50 pounds of gear and batteries and a laptop. But if I would have to guess, the Ronin 4D is superior to an A7S III on an RS3 gimbal because you have that Z-axis stabilization that chicken heads. But I will let you be the judge eventually because it is subjective oftentimes at the end of the day, and you don't see, never leave trash behind when it falls out of your pocket. But yeah, what you don't see is what I do in the edit, so that's always something to keep in mind when you watch these YouTube comparison videos. At the end of the day, you want to be happy with the image, and I gotta say, I'm pretty impressed, and as a red shooter myself, like I'm pretty impressed what the Ronin 4D spits out. Also in terms of color science, so just putting it out there. Alright, so yeah, camera A is the Sony and B is the Ronin. So I don't have a prize for you, but congratulations on who got it right. And if you didn't, I don't know if it's a good or bad sign. You decide yourself. Now, I was looking for a lens that I can compare this DJI lens to, and my G Master 16-35 is pretty close in terms of its focal length and speed. So with the interchangeable mount on the Ronin 4D, I can just throw it on and compare the images. Actually, that interchangeable mount is quite clutch because you can use loads of different lenses. So well done, DJI. Okay, so I just threw the 17-28 now on this camera, and let's get some side-by-side shots in this epic location so you can form your own opinion. After reviewing those images, first disclaimer, obviously the conditions were not scientific because they were always changing weather conditions like you would get in Iceland. But overall, I didn't see like a discernible difference in terms of sharpness and contrast between the Sony and the DJI lens, which I guess is great for the DJI lens, but both have slight focus breathing on the wider end and a little bit more noticeable focus breathing when you zoom in all to 28mm, which is to be expected. On paper, the close focus distance of the DJI lens is supposed to be closer than the Sony lens, but for some reason when you switch over to manual focusing, you can't get as close. With the autofocus function, you can get as close as the spec sheet is telling you, but manually you can't. That should be just a software update fix. Overall, while the DJI lens may not have the same range as the Sony 16-35, it is the better choice for the Ronin 4D system because of its integration from LiDAR to zoom to the balancing aspect. And this lens perfectly fits also the lineup of DJI's DL mount lenses in terms of its character. Very sharp lenses, high contrast, great for documentary work, for example. Now, I wish they had some faster lens choices. All of them are currently f2.8. But that might be something that comes in future. Right now you would have to resort to other, for example, vintage lenses, but this may be something we can explore at a different point of time. I'm very curious of what kind of lenses I can throw on the Ronin 4D and try out. Alright, what are my final thoughts on this lens? It is actually an impressive first attempt by DJI in a zoom lens. It's lightweight and seamless integration with the 4D makes it really stand out, and its character is pretty clinical. It's a very clean lens which doesn't have necessarily character, which is great if you do shoot documentary, nature documentary work or even commercial work. I wish it could get a little bit closer like the 16-35, but you can also use the crop mode in the Ronin 4D, the Super 35 crop mode, in order to get a little bit of a tighter image. I've used that before, and obviously that's not an issue. And then you can always, with a 6K footage, crop in even further. But yeah, I got another video around the Ronin 4D in combination with AI coming, and much more from this beautiful and very cold place of Iceland. So if you want to get notified, or if you want to have this video pop up in your feed, just hit the subscribe button. And as always, have a good morning, have a good night, whenever and wherever you are around this very, very beautiful and frosty planet. Bye bye.